I'm Mark Hummel, and welcome to Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party. I am in Sheffield, England, at my friend Bob Hall's house, and we are going to talk about Bob's career and how intertwined it is with all these other people that you've known for many years.
Yeah, we should say that we've had a kind of a run through here, so I probably will forget some of the things.
Don't worry, I will remind you. I will remind you. Don't worry, I'm very good at my job. But I just want to say, for starters, we've known each other. I think we go back 40 years, even though we haven't been the best of friends. We've always been friendly and played shows together off and on.
Yeah, and I know we have met and played together. I got the photographs to prove it.
And you got the photographs. You got to lay one of those on me.
Right.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to just say is how did somebody from England get into blues? As I assume you were a youngster when you got into blues, right?
I was 14.
Right.
And a school friend of mine said, "I've got a couple of records that might interest you." And he took me to his house and he played me. He had two records. They were the only blues records he had. And one of them was Smokestack Lightning by Howlin Wolf, and the other was the Sonny Terry Brownie McGee album.
Wow. Yeah.
And that changed my life. I thought, hey, I want to, particularly the Howlin Wolf one. The piano, it was an EP, and there were a couple of other tracks, You Can't Be Beat and Come to Me Baby, and it had that fabulous piano. I wanted to play like that.
Now, were these LPs or 45s?
Well, one was I think a 10-inch album. The other was a 45.
Right.
But it was EP, 2 tracks on each side. Yeah.
Was it the Wolf one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
okay.
Yeah, I've still, I went out and bought it. I've still got it there.
Right. Sounds like me.
Yeah. And I never ever thought I'd get to play with him, but hey.
Now you talk about Wolf?
Yeah.
You played with Wolf?
Yeah.
Wow. When was that?
60.
Groundhogs?
Dave Kelly Band, I think. They were called the John Dummer Blues Band.
Okay.
And John Dummer was the drummer of the band, and it was his band. And yeah, we backed Wolf. I think they did a lot more gigs all over the country, but I played all the ones I could get to.
Yeah.
Having a day job and having chained by the foot to the office.
And I think in a lot of ways that's what makes you kind of unusual, is that you're one of the musicians in the early, in the 60s that kind of kept a day job, but also did a ton of work with different people that were, pretty much became very famous.
Yeah.
And you also did a lot of work with American artists, probably more so than most of the British musicians.
I got good at playing hooky from the office.
Right.
And also at that time, I worked for the government, and working for the government wasn't that hard in those days.
Right. So you had a lot of leeway with that.
You could get in late and go home early, and no one noticed.
Right.
They don't notice. I don't mind.
Right. Exactly. So were you playing piano prior to hearing about blues or not?
Yeah, my father was a pianist.
Okay.
And in many respects, a much better pianist than me, because my father was one of these people. He liked the Great American Songbook, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But he could hear a tune on the radio and straight away sit down and play it.
Wow.
He just had that ear.
Yeah.
And he was very good.
So he was not necessarily a guy that just did reading.
No.
Yeah.
I think he could read, but he could do everything. He didn't need to.
Right.
But unfortunately for him, the only gigs that were available for pianists in those days were in pubs, mm-hmm. because every pub had a piano. In fact, every home had a piano.
That's true. Yeah.
And my mother didn't want him playing in pubs. So she sort of said...
Was it just because of the lifestyle? Or?
I think so, yes. Yeah. Yes. And she felt that if he spent too much time in pubs, he'd have too much to drink.
Right.
But he never did. My father was a very abstemious man, but
mm-hmm.
that was her view.
And what did he do for a living?
He was a buyer for a tin plate firm, mm-hmm. that made tin boxes, biscuit tins,
mm-hmm.
down by the docks in Bermondsey in London.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to work there in the vacations, loading tins onto trucks and one thing or another. But my father was my inspiration, although he never liked what I played. He never liked it, because I'm left-handed, And for me, Boogie Woogie was the easiest thing to play.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, and he
I
would
never
say,
even
no,
thought of that.
play something we can whistle. I thought, no, I want to play this.
Right.
So that was, we differed in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was my inspiration. And I wish I had had his talent.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly gotten to be a great player. And
Well, I scraped by.
Yeah. I think you're one of the best, blues players in the country, easily.
Well, I used to be one of the only ones.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean,
yeah.
you're somebody that really went after
yes
the old school type of blues, and I didn't really hear many UK blues pianists really going after it like you did.
No, we used to have my first wife and I. We used to have Boogie Woogie parties.
Wow.
And we would invite all the Boogie Woogie pianists in England.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, the guy used to come down from Scotland too.
Wow.
And we'd have these weekend parties, and we had two pianos, which we kind of pushed back to back in the same room,
mm-hmm.
and we just played interminable boogie. It must be terrible. Well, the neighbours must have thought, but we were young and enthusiastic.
Right. Now, did you ever get a chance to meet Steve Winwood in the early years?
I saw him play once. In fact, he almost stopped me dead because I saw him play when he was with Spencer Davis.
Right.
And he sang better, played piano better, and played guitar better than I did. And he was 16 or something like that.
16,
Why do I bother?
That's what I've heard about him, is that everybody had that reaction to him, pretty much. Everybody I've ever talked to. They all said the same thing.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah. So could he play Boogie Woogie too?
I didn't hear him do that, but he was a very good blues pianist.
He sure was.
He was just a very good everything.
Just everything, I agree. He was a great guitar player too.
Oh,
And a great singer, Wild. So what was the first blues band you were in?
I tried, before I went to university, to put together the odd band one way or another. But really, the first proper blues band I was in, I left university, and there used to be a magazine, newspaper, weekly paper called The Melody Maker here. Right. And the back of The Melody Maker, there were adverts for musicians.
Right.
And they would say things like, drummer, must have own transport, all of this kind of stuff. And every time there was an advert for a keyboard player, I would answer it. But mostly they wanted somebody who played organ, because Jimmy Smith was very popular at that time, and I didn't want to do that.
Right.
And eventually I found a band that wanted a piano player, and I went along for the interview, for the audition, and two people answered the advert, and the other guy didn't show up. So I got the gig.
You got the gig, yeah.
And that was the Groundhogs.
Oh, really?
And the Groundhogs were a band that was. I think we were doomed to be commercially unsuccessful because we didn't like anything that was commercially successful.
Right.
We didn't
and that was Tony McPhee?
Yeah, we didn't play any Chuck Berry or anything Bo Diddley, none of that stuff. We want to play the real stuff. Howlin Wolf, Muddy Waters. Hey, we were young. Ideally.
And what year was that? Do you remember?
64, 65.
Okay. Yeah. And now you guys backed, as I recall, you backed a ton of people. John Lee Hooker and
Hooker was the second. We backed Champion Jack Dupree.
Champion Jack, right?
But that was in the days when he used to do his song and dance routine.
Oh, okay.
Because he had that kind of New Orleans style, and he would do the singing and the dancing with his flashy shoes and what have you. And I played piano for him. He played piano as well.
Right. I knew he would sit in
piano, when he stood up, and then we backed John Lee Hooker a lot. And I think originally the band was called the Dollarbills, and they changed it to the Groundhogs to back John Lee Hooker.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because of his song.
Groundhog Blues.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
And they did several tours with him, and I think
he became really big here during that time.
He
ended up having like a #1, didn't he?
Well, certainly top 5. Boom Boom.
Right.
And what was the other one? There was another one he had, which I'm struggling now.
Hobo or Hobo Blues? I don't remember.
No, he had
Maybe, Dimples.
Dimples was the hit.
Yeah, right.
And Boom Boom was
Right.
in the top 20 too.
Right,
So he
I
had two
remember
records
that.
in the top
Yeah.
20.
Right.
And I can remember playing with John loved ladies. He loved the ladies, you know. And he was at that time, I think, very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
He was maybe 40-ish,
Yeah,
you know. And,
yeah.
and we played gigs, and the first 3 rows would be young 15, 16-year-old girls, you know. And John was there, you know.
He must have been in
I
heaven.
think I'll have that one too.
He must have been in heaven.
He loved it. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my first experience of really seeing what music could do for you.
Yeah, I'll say that's enough to keep you in the business right there.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we also backed little Walter,
Did you really?
who was not successful financially.
Right. You're saying just people didn't come out to see him?
Well, people came out to see him, but he didn't connect with the audience.
Right.
He didn't speak to them. He
Right.
played long harmonious
meandering kind of stuff. Yeah.
He didn't. I mean, John would
knew how to connect.
Yeah, he really tried to connect, and Walter didn't do that, and he didn't go down that well.
And now, why do you think that was? Do you think that was just not being comfortable in England, or what do you think it was?
I don't know. He wasn't very happy.
Right. Was he drinking a lot?
Well, the first gig that he came backstage to see us, and he said, it's usual for the band to buy me a bottle of whiskey.
Not a good intro.
And we said, well, Walter, if we buy you a bottle of whiskey, that's our fee. I mean, we're playing this gig for next to nothing because it's you.
Because of you, yeah.
So that didn't go down very well. And then when he didn't go down that well with the audience, he blamed the band.
Of course.
It was our fault, which I think was unfair, because he was very unlikely to have found another band that had a copy of The Best of Little Walter, which was the only vinyl album you could get, even in America.
Yeah.
And we had it. In fact, it's over there in that record. I've still got
So
it.
now, did you guys learn his stuff?
And we learned his stuff off the record, so we could play it straight off, no messing about. But he
just wasn't happy.
He was not happy. But not all the stars went down that well. I mean, Howlin Wolf was pretty popular, but I can remember, I wasn't there that night, but I remember one gig that they played at a West Indian club in London, and Wolf didn't go down very well.
Really?
And
was it because the audience just kind of didn't get what he did?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he apparently, it was Dave Kelly's band, and Dave was saying Wolf was sitting brooding, the huge man brooding in the van going home, and Dave said to him, Wolf, there's nothing personal. I mean, that's a West Indian club where they like ska and reggae and calypso and stuff. They don't know anything about the blues. And Wolf turned to him and he said, "Don't you tell me how to play the coons. I was a coon myself."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Jeez. So it was really the color thing is what kind of freaked him out.
Forgive the language, but that's what he said.
Right. But I'm saying it was really the color thing, the fact that it was he was playing to people that looked like him and he wasn't getting it.
Color was kind of significant in those days. I mean, I can remember John Dolly Hooker could play those clubs and he could do it. He would just change that beat, instead of he would go.
He'd do an offbeat,
and you could see all the audience. Oh, John, man!
He'd do an offbeat,
Hey, reggae man.
Interesting. Wow.
And he could go down anywhere. But there was one club in London. We played the Q Club, where there was a tremendous hostility to us because it was a West Indian club, and we're a white band back in a
black,
and they really did not like us at all. They loved him.
They loved him. Now, who was that? Was that Wolf or
no? That was
Hooker?
Hooker. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
Wow.
But on the whole, I mean, Wolf, you know, in any normal blues crowd, he could really turn it on. He was great. He was outstanding.
I would think so. Yeah, yeah. So now, would you guys back piano players, and you just kind of open the show or something?
Yeah, that's right. We backed Memphis Slim.
Right. Yeah. And like you say, Champion Jack.
Yeah. Anybody. You know, anybody who was around.
Did you back Eddie Boyd at all?
No, I saw Eddie Boyd play, but I think he played solo.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember him playing with a band.
All right.
But he didn't play with me anyway.
Yeah. And at this same time, I mean, you had a lot of interest in blues. You had Mayall out there doing his thing, and
that for
Alexis
me,
Corner.
Yeah, for me that was hugely satisfying because I'd been at university in the north of England, and nobody liked my kind of music.
Yeah,
nobody at all, and they derided it. You know, and I would thumb home at weekends 200 miles from Durham back down to London, and I could see there was this foment of activity. There was a fellow called Chris Barber.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah, right.
He used to have a weekly R&B session at the Marquee Club which was in Oxford Street then, and I'd go there and see it. That's my kind of music. And it's happening, and I'm up in university in this godforsaken place in the north.
So it was really just this tiny little pocket kind of.
Yeah, but it grew from London, and when I came back, it was really happening, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was a good time for me.
Yeah. Now, did you meet people like the Stones and Clapton and different people like that at
that
the
time? I didn't meet. I mean, I often saw them play because they were playing the same sort of clubs that we played, but I didn't get to know them until sometime later. I guess the first real big star I got to know was Pete Green. And that was through a bass player, Bob Brunning, he was my partner in crime for 20 or 30 years.
Right.
And all kinds
and he had just joined Fleetwood Mac.
He joined Fleetwood Mac.
Until McVie.
Yeah. But they were friends, you know, and every time Bob would manage to persuade some record company to make yet another album of us doing something or other.
He'd enlist Peter.
He'd say, well, I can get Peter Green to come play. Oh, okay.
Right.
You know, so Peter would come and go,
right.
And Bob could charm anybody. He was a charming man.
Yeah.
I guess the most successful band we had probably was called Tramp. And that was just about 1970, 71.
Mm-hmm.
And that had Mick Fleetwood on drums and Danny Kirwan on guitar and Bob on bass and me on piano.
So they had Fleetwood Mac going, but they were also playing with you.
Yeah. Although I think at that time Fleetwood Mac was in some kind of
they were kind of in limbo because Peter had just left.
Well, and there was some kind of legal. There was argument about the name, who owned the name.
Really?
Well, I think the management put out a completely different band other than the name Fleetwood Mac, and there was
I never heard that.
There was a lawsuit and one thing.
Whoa!
I think
I never heard
Mick was
that.
waiting for that to be sorted out.
Oh, I never heard that before.
And I remember we paid him £38 for the session, and he was really glad to have it. With 2 days.
Talk about Mick?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was really glad to have it.
Yeah.
So, and that band, we made 2 albums, and after we did some gigs after the second one.
With Tramp?
Tramp, yeah. That was early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And
so the albums, the Bruning Sunflower Band, that was you and Bob Bruning.
And anybody else we could get.
And anybody else you could get, but Peter was, I think, a guest on all 3? Or did you guys record all those at the same time and distribute them? Or
they were recorded in a studio that in the mornings was a children's play group.
Huh.
And in the afternoon they shoo all the children out, and then the band would come in. And,
interesting.
And we'd. And that particular company was one that wouldn't allow you to play any copyright material. So you had to change the titles.
Well, but I mean, he did a couple with you guys. Like he did "It Takes Time," and I think a BB tune on there. I forget which one.
We probably changed the title.
No, they had they had the same titles.
Oh,
Yeah.
they would have said it was traditional then.
I don't know. I thought maybe I'm wrong, but
it was
wow.
Oh, it was taboo to
And what was the label? The label?
Saga.
Sonnet?
Saga.
Oh, Saga. Okay, I'm not familiar.
Saga was a drugstore label. You can buy them in record stores.
Right. It was kind of like United and some of those other
exactly
ones. Yeah,
like exactly
dollar copies
yeah,
in the stores.
Right.
Yeah,
In front of the store.
Right.
In the racks.
Right.
Yeah, but,
well, I was really impressed with the way Peter Green sounded on those two records. He really sounded great.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
We had fun with those.
Right. But you're saying he wouldn't take any money?
No, he never took any money from it.
Wow.
No.
So he was doing it just because he liked you guys, basically.
I guess.
Or something to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Something to do.
Something
whatever.
to do.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I remember when I met you, I met Bob Bruning. This was in 86 or 87. We met in Helsinki, and I asked him about Peter, and he told me that that Peter was under his wife's care at an outpatient clinic for.
Yeah, she was a very senior psychiatrist.
And he was saying that he was really long fingernails and the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, many years later, we did get together in something called the British Blues All Stars.
Right.
And Peter was on several of the gigs, but it was very difficult, partly because he was a ward of court,
right.
which meant that you had to go to a judge to explain what the gig was and how much he was going to be paid and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, he needed 24-hour supervision.
Yeah.
So if he was in a hotel room, somebody had to be with him all night.
That is unbelievable.
He heard voices, and sometimes the voices told him to do things that you wouldn't want him to do.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah. So,
It's a very sad story.
It is. Yeah. You want to talk something more too? I'd like to tell you about teaching Linda McCartney to play the piano.
Why don't we talk about that? That's an incredible story. What year was that?
Well, this would be early 70s.
Uh-huh.
And I think, despite what the newspapers said, Linda wasn't that enthusiastic about playing with wings.
Mm-hmm.
She did it because Paul didn't want her to be just hanging on
left out kind of
and trawling along with the band. I mean, they were touring around the world. He wanted Linda to come with him, but he said, look, you need to have more of more of a
part of the
you need a dog in this race,
right.
So he said, why don't you learn to play the piano? And Paul actually could play the piano quite well.
Right.
I imagine he still can.
Sure. Yeah.
So they had a piano in the living room, and Linda had been to see Fats Domino play in Las Vegas, and she asked Fats if he would give her lessons, and he said, "Well, show me what you can play." And she played a bit, and Fats said, "Well, go away and have some lessons, and when you get good enough, I'll teach you."
Huh.
And she took this as as encouragement.
Right.
So my job was to teach her to play well enough that Fats Domino would get.
Now, how did you two meet, though?
We met through her accountant. Her accountant phoned me up. I don't know how he got my number, but I mean, I guess there weren't too many piano players who could do that sort of stuff. Resident in London, they were all out in the world being superstars and whatever.
Right.
And he said, "Will you teach Linda to play the piano?" And I said, "I've never taught anybody to play the piano."
Really?
No, I've never given lessons. And so what we agreed was that I would do my best to teach her, and she would make a charity contribution, and that was every week I would go up there and in the lunch hour.
Wow.
A long lunch hour.
Yeah.
And teach Linda to play the piano.
What a trip.
And there was always a problem getting into their St. John's Wood house because big wall around.
Right.
And there's a gate with a doorbell.
And this is before you could text and all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Way before.
So the problem was that the Japanese tourists used to come around in their tour buses, you know, and they'd press the bell and no one would ever answer it because it was, you know. Anyway, I'd phone up and say, I'm coming and I'll give you exactly the time, so please
be there,
answer the door. Yeah. And mostly that worked.
Yeah.
And so I give Linda an hour's teaching.
And they had kids at this point.
They had, there was a teenage daughter who worked, I think, at the florist around the corner from there, because Paul had said she had to get a job.
Right. You know. Now she's the one that has the clothing company now?
I believe she is, yes. And I never met her because she worked. But I met the two younger children who were then about 8 or 10, and I thought they were fabulous kids. They were really nice, well-adjusted children. You know, they sometimes, if Linda was late, they'd answer the door and take me in and sit me down and say, "Do you want a cup of tea?" And I mean, it was really, and then they try and engage me in conversation, you know.
Right,
and I
that's
thought
great.
Was so nice. Yeah. And I used to bring my children up there.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So they'd all play together?
Well, they played there was a tennis machine. Linda had bought this tennis machine, and we'd never seen anything like this. It was a whole new world. Yeah. So my kids were like, "Can I play the tennis machine?" You know, ping.
That's funny. Yeah. Keep them busy.
Yeah, that kept them busy while.
Do you know how long of lessons you would do? Like an hour?
About an hour at a time, yeah. And we we went through Jimmy Yancey. I had books of Jimmy Yancey sheet music and stuff, and try to get that left hand.
How'd she do with it?
Not that great. She never had enough time to practice. Yeah. I mean, Linda was an extraordinarily talented woman. Her photographs were really quite first class, and it's disappeared in moves. But I used to have a signed book of hers of Linda's pictures. Right. And they were terrific. And of course, she's now internationally famous for her vegetarian food recipes and things. So she had a lot of talent, but it wasn't so much on the piano. But a nice woman, very nice. I liked her a lot.
That's great. Yeah. So did you get to know Paul some during that time?
A little bit. I mean, they didn't. I'm trying to think. I mean, it was just a very ordinary household. And Paul would go out in the morning at 9 o'clock, and he'd come back in the evening at 5 o'clock. He'd have his dinner and so on. And they didn't have servants to the
That's
best
something,
of my knowledge.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I think they had a cleaning lady.
Right. But not maids or butlers.
Paul or Linda would make the meals, and it was a very ordinary life. One time I was given a lesson, and some guy jumped over the wall of their St. John's Wood house. It was quite a high wall. I mean, it must have been. You couldn't see over the top of it, so it's got to be 6 or 8 foot tall. Right. And he's got a guitar, and he came running through the garden and banging on the window, and he wants to sell this guitar to Linda, you know. And she was able to deal with him without alienating him, without making a big. She didn't freak out about it. She just dealt with it. Yeah. And sent him on his way. We didn't want the guitar, but no hard feelings. And I thought that was really remarkable.
That is remarkable.
I would have thought. Well, I would have freaked out.
I just wonder. I wonder if some of that was the '60s, and just that a lot of celebrities like them, or John Lennon or whatever, they realized that there were a lot of people that were going to kind of come at them, and that they could kind of be peaceful about it. Yeah. As a result, because there's a film of John dealing with some guy that just walks into their yard and starts basically trying to get an explanation about a song. And he deals with them very, Yeah.
So it all passed off. It was just 5-10 minutes was finished, and that was it.
Well, I wanted to ask you, the Groundhogs backed Billy Boy. Were you in the band when they backed Billy Boy Arnold?
I don't think.
Because I think they did an album with them.
Okay, I have played with Billy Boy, and I have recorded with him. Yeah. But it was for Big Bear.
I think this was Red Lightning, as I recall.
From about 1971 to 1976 or so, Big Bear would bring over the American Blues Legends tour every year. And it was, it was a bunch of guys from Chicago or whatever, sort of thrown together.
Right.
Well, not all from Chicago, because it was Lightnin Slim, Witherspoon Smith.
Right.
Eddie Burns from Detroit.
Right. Lowell. I know you guys recorded with Lowell, but maybe that was later on.
That was much later.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who else was on that tour. Washboard Willie.
Right. Was Slim Harpo on that?
No, I think he had died.
He died, okay.
By then, yes.
Yeah.
Good Rocking Charles was the
really?
Player.
Wow.
Yeah. And mostly they brought over a whole band.
Right.
But they didn't know each other for the most part, and often they didn't really want to play together as a band. And also some of them would stay, because Jim Simpson was a Big Bear promoter. I mean, he was an agent as well, so he often booked tours for solo tours or duo tours with different people.
Right.
And they often needed a backing group. And Jim Simpson was interested in cheap backing groups.
Right.
And Browning and I were really cheap, because we're in London and we've got jobs,
Right.
So all we got to do is.
So you were really looking at what was going to satisfy you musically.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Yeah. So we got to play on dozens and dozens around. At one point,
did you work with Snooky and Homesick? Was that you guys?
That was us too. Yeah. At one time we did 3 albums in a day.
Wow. Crazy.
39 tracks in a day.
That's crazy.
And the last album, I can't remember which one it was now, but I can remember Jim Simpson saying, "Okay, we need one more track for this album. Let's do a great slow blues, really." And Bob Browning saying, "The last tube back to where we live, Kennington, leaves at 11:10. Do you want to pay for a cab?" And Jim Simpson said, "No." So, okay, let's do a fast one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 minutes.
Oh,
we
God.
We ran to get the last tube.
Jeez.
So
was he from England?
Jim Simpson?
Yeah.
Yes, he's from Birmingham.
Okay.
But that's. I mean, due means due. He put on a lot of good music, and I can't fault him for that. But it wasn't very commercially successful. I mean, I think artistically, some of the stuff that Homesick and
Snooky Pryor
did was that was really good.
Did you guys record with?
Yes.
Those were your records.
We did. Yeah, I thought they were excellent. So I mean, he tried, but I think the moment had passed. Blues was really popular in the '60s. Music is a fashion business, and the fashion was turning.
Yeah.
So there was still
Were these kind of the remnants of the American Folk Blues Festival?
Yeah.
Right.
So the audiences were declining.
Right.
And I think that
and it seems like in a way that's kind of what happened with the blues boom in England, is that you had this time from 65 through 1970 that it was really an in kind of thing, and then it gradually kind of withered away in a way.
Yeah, it had 2 revivals. In '77, I was supposed to leave a job in a town called Swindon and move back to London, and I had a farewell concert. And one of my neighbours in London was Ian Stewart.
Okay, right from the Stones. Yeah.
And I talked to him about doing this concert, and he said, "Well, I got a friend who plays drums." So we got Charlie Watts along to play drums.
Yeah.
And we got a horn section of people I think that Stu knew. And we made an album. I think we rehearsed in the afternoon, and we did the live concert in the evening, and Stu brought Ronnie Lane's mobile down to record it, and we made an album and we put it out.
And where was the concert? Do you remember?
It was in the Arts Centre in Swindon. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And it was sold out, and it was great. We did.
And was there a name for the group?
Yeah, it was called the Bob Hall George Green Boogie Woogie Band.
Oh,
George Green was another Boogie Woogie pianist who was very good.
Yeah.
And because Stu never thought he was good enough really to play with the band, he hardly ever sat in with us or anything.
Right.
But he liked George, so George and I. We had worked together. We used to tour Germany as a duo. The bass player of that band was Dave Green, who was, was a jazz bass player. But Charlie and Dave grew up together. They were next door neighbours.
Okay.
Charlie learned to play the drums, and Dave learned to play the bass, and they played together.
Yeah.
And they played it in our band for a while. And we did quite a few gigs, mostly festival gigs, because we had to get Charlie along. And of course, if you told a festival you could bring Charlie Watts along,
they were going to hire you.
They were going to hire you on the spot.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so we were able to do that. And Alexis Corner was an old friend of mine. I owed Alexis a lot. Every time my musical career, such as it was, would dip, and there'd be nothing going on, I think, what am I going to do now? The phone would ring, and Alexis, hey Bob, I got to do, and. Now,
when did you guys meet in the mid '60s?
Yeah, I think we met. Alexis used to have a radio show,
right? And
he wanted to interview another neighbour of mine, Joanne Kelly, who was a fabulous slide guitar player, 12 singer, wonderful singer. Mm-hmm. Dave Kelly's older sister, and I had for years accompanied Joe. Mostly folk clubs and things like this, and Alexis had us on the radio, and that was how I first met him.
Right.
And I think we hit it off, and he would occasionally come up with some scheme.
Yeah.
And this time it was my scheme, because it was this band, and he came and joined us. So we had Alexis and Charlie, which were two very big names.
Wow.
For the rhythm
Yeah,
section.
absolutely. Yeah.
And Stu wanted a big name for the bass as well, so he wanted Jack Bruce to come and play, and Jack was willing to join the band, but he wouldn't play in a band where the band leader was less famous than he was. So he.
Well, at least he didn't have an ego.
No, of course not. So we had to change the name of the band. So it became Rocket 88.
And what year was this? Was this after Cream or before?
It would be after.
After.
It would be after, yeah. So it would be about 80, 81, something 81. Like that.
And how long did that group last?
Well, from 77 until about 82, 83.
Wow. So it was together for a while.
Yeah. And then it fell apart. I became very ill, and I couldn't play for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And Stu died suddenly without warning. Alexis died, and there was just, by the time I was well enough to play, there was nothing to reconstitute really. By which time, I think it was in 79, Paul Jones decided it was time for a blues revival, and he formed the Blues Band.
Okay.
And I got to play with the Blues Band because Dave Kelly and I are neighbours, and they didn't have a piano player, so.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Paul Jones is the singer from Manfred Mann.
Yes, but he was also a film star.
Was he really? He was a star.
Yeah, literally. But Paul,
wow.
Geez, I can't remember he had 1 or 2 films where he was the
leading character.
The male lead. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And he also did a lot of theatre work.
Right.
He was the male lead in Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Wow.
Guys and Dolls, I think he did.
Too much.
On the London.
Now, was he also doing the radio show at that point, or was that later on?
I think he took that up when Alexis died.
Okay. So he basically took on that show.
He basically took over Alexis's show.
Yeah.
And based a lot on Paul's reputation, I think. The Blues Band were playing big venues, and we had a lot of fun.
Right.
And it brought an audience back to what was really British blues. Slightly different from the All-American sound. But there it was.
Yeah.
Maybe not hit parade material, but they sold a lot of records.
Well, Dave Kelly was fairly early on too, right? Wasn't he kind of on the scene in the in the late '60s or mid '60s?
Yes, certainly, yes.
Yeah. I remember having a British blues album. They were these anthologies. I'm sure you remember them. They had, and you're on it. You were on it with
Joanne,
Savoy Brown, is what I remember.
Yes, yes.
You were on like one of the really early records with Savoy Brown, and I was like, these guys sound like the most authentic thing on here.
This was the label called it Immediate.
Yeah, but they were like selling them as bargain.
Well, that's the
kind
of label that Immediate was.
Right.
And towards the end, they wanted to keep putting these albums out.
Right.
And I had a little home tape recorder, and I recorded stuff which we then sold to Immediate.
Right. Because there's like Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page jamming together on it.
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
There's Jeremy Spencer, I think, on it, and a whole bunch of.
Yeah, so and Dave and Joanne are on those, and with me, playing piano on some of them anyway. They said we'll give you an advance and then royalties, and of course, the advance was all we ever saw.
Of course, Natch. That's the record business.
Yeah, and the owner of the record label ended up escaping from the UK and moving to Los Angeles. I think.
Really? Well, right where he belongs.
Right where he belongs.
So how long were you in Savoy Brown for? Was that?
Well, I was the original.
The original member, player. Yeah. Right.
The harmonica player, John O'Leary, and Kim came around my house when I lived in London. Knocked on the door and said, we're forming a blues band. You want to join?
Right.
And I said, well, have you got any gigs? No. Do there any other musicians? No. And I said, well, when you've got a band, give me a call. And a year later, they gave me a call, and sure enough, they had a band. And it was a hell of a band.
Right. You guys, you had like a West Indian, like
he's African.
African singer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Bryce Porteous.
Who was really good.
He was really good. And we had a West Indian drummer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Manning, yeah. So it was it was a really nice sounding good band. So I was happy to join.
Right.
And we formed our own club in Battersea. And in the summer, it was very loud. In the summer, I used to open the windows because there was no air conditioning or anything, you could hear it down the street. And the neighbours got up a petition to complain about our club.
Well, when you say a club, I mean, did you guys actually? Was it a bar? Was it?
It was a pub, and this was a room above a pub, and we had a weekly, I think Mondays.
Okay.
But all sorts of people. I mean, I think Fleetwood Mac played it. I mean, all sorts of bands played it.
Too much.
That club was very oversubscribed every week. We queues of people to get in. It was packed solid. Like almost every band I've ever played with, they said, we're going to turn professional, Bob. Do you want to come and join with us?
Right, and it's kind of like you're in a position where you can't. Yeah,
I don't really want to do that.
Right.
So when the band set off, I just played the gigs I could play.
Right.
And the ones I didn't, they didn't have a piano player.
Right. Right.
And I'm on the first couple of albums.
Right.
In fact, I think I'm on the first 4
Really?
albums.
Wow.
Yes, because the band lineup changed.
Right, because I know Chris Yulden or something.
When Chris Yulden came, it changed the feel of the band. Chris was very much a songwriter as well as a great front man.
Right.
And we would kind of compose together in the studio, the whole band,
Yeah.
So the third and fourth albums are very, they're not just things we knocked up in the studio. They are mostly nice compositions.
Right.
I think we had the compositions on one side, and on the second side we'd have some raucous loud live session.
Huh.
And they made a few singles, not a hit, well, at least not with me. And then the band had an offer to go to the States.
Uh-huh.
And once that happened, there was no way.
You weren't going to do it. Yeah.
I could go with them.
Sure.
So I ceased to become a member.
Right. Well, it sounds like that was kind of the story with having a day job. Is that
it's always that.
You're handicapped in terms of what you can really commit to.
Yeah. But they would come back to England, and I'd sit here with the band again.
Right.
And I remained friends with Kim until he died just before Christmas.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. And I was, I felt very close to him, and that was a big blow when I heard that he died.
Yeah. Well, I read a really interesting interview with him where he talked about, they said something like, well, didn't you have so many members in your band? He goes, well, that's just the way it goes,
Well,
having a lot of people in and out of your band.
I think Kim always had a vision of what he wanted, and it would change from time to time.
Right.
Up until the last, he was still writing new songs,
right,
and trying to find new ways of expression.
So in a way, having the interchangeable members kind of went with what he was writing and working on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was very good at that. I think 2012, something like that. I managed to get I did a Bob Brunning. I managed to get some money out of the record company. I said, hey, I got some original songs. And I said, and if you give me the money,
I'll get Kim Simmons
to play on it and produce it.
Right.
Because he had promised, because I played him my previous album, and he said, oh, that's okay, but I think you could do better. You need proper production.
Right.
So, okay. Thanks for that, Kim. So, okay, you say that.
Here we go.
So we got enough money to spend 10 days in Kim's studio.
That's nice
in upstate New York.
Yeah.
And mix the album, and we came back with an album after 10 days. And it was interesting to see the way he worked and the way he changed things around.
Yeah.
From the basic concepts which we brought. We got there, and the first thing he said to me was, your vocals are too high. You need to bring your vocals down. So we need to take all the tunes down about 3 semitones. There's my wife going, oh, what? I gotta learn all these bass parts in the studio.
Yikes. Yeah.
And I've got to play the piano.
Right.
Yeah. I'm still happy, very happy with the results.
Yeah.
And he brought in some old Savoy Brown alumni.
So, with the Stars of British Blues, how did you get onto that?
I'd moved out of London by that time and wasn't able to continue a commitment with the blues band because they're all London based, right, and their gigs were a lot in the south, and up here in Sheffield it's hard to get there in time,
right,
particularly after work.
Right.
We
should mention that you were a patent lawyer most of this time, right?
Oh yeah, all of this time,
the whole time.
European patent attorney,
right, right,
yeah.
So you were a seriously law-schooled professional.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting life. I'm not sorry I did it. It was, and it's quite competitive because a lot of it is in court, arguing cases and one thing and another. So it was okay.
So you had left the blues band because they were London based.
Yes, and then for a while, I never left them in the sense that I stopped playing with them.
Difficult to play with them.
When they came up this way,
right, I would
always go and play with them. Yeah,
right,
and I think I was welcome.
Right, and you've remained friends with all these.
We're
guys.
Still friends, even now. Hillary and I, by this time, were together, and we, for quite a while, we played shows around village halls and little country places, we would develop shows. I'd write songs. And they would have some sort of a theme. And the Arts Council in Britain would subsidise us to go out and play in small places. It doesn't make you famous, but the money's quite good.
Right.
So you can't complain about that.
Yeah.
And then I met a fellow up here who was at the time a school teacher, and he knew a lot of people on the scene that. Considering that he had no connections with the music business, and he was a very good friend of Taj Mahal's, and he had the phone numbers of quite a large range of folks who he regularly talked to, and I mean, I don't know how he became friends with them. I suppose by going to gigs and then chatting. And he said to me, "Well, why don't you get together an all-star band?" And he said, "I'll do the phoning for you." So we got an all-star band together, and we got Long John Baldry to front the band, and Kim Simmons kindly came and played guitar for us.
Right. And was he living here at the time?
No, he had to come over to do it.
Wow.
As did Baldry. He was living in Canada.
Right. That's right, because he was in Vancouver. Yeah.
Right. And Tom McGuinness from the Blues Band.
Okay.
So that we had two guitars. Well, we had Colin Allen on drums, who had been with John Mayall for a number of years. And I'm trying to think who Dick Hexel Smith we had on.
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who you played with in Deluxe Blues Band.
Yes, a lot of gigs with the Deluxe Blues Band. Very eccentric fellow.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I love his book, by the way. The Blowing the Blues book.
I haven't read that.
Oh,
I'm told
great,
I'm told you should read it.
It is so fun. It's such a great read. Yeah.
It's a real old time eccentric.
Yes.
Yeah. And we had Peter Green.
Right.
I think most of the gigs that the All Stars did, we had Peter Green, although it was very difficult because he was a ward of court. Yes.
Now, was that mainly in the UK that you were able to work with him, or was it all over?
No, we worked with him in Copenhagen, in Notodden for the Blues Festival there, in Orkney. I seem to think we did the festival in Belgium. We mostly did big festivals.
And you were saying it was really difficult to be able to get him to come on board because of the award of the.
He was made a ward of court, which means that you're not able to look after your own affairs.
Right.
So we had to go to a judge in chambers and say, "We've got this gig." What's a gig? How much is he going to be paid? All of this. And then you had to have a minder. Who did you get for that? Well, he was living with a young Serbian woman who I think was very fond of him, and she did actually act as his minder. Okay. And all the time that he was with us, she was his minder. So apart from we did the San Francisco Blues Festival, but we couldn't get him to that, mostly because of getting the visas. That was really complicated. You said that was real last minute. Oh God, yeah. My visa arrived 5 days before. That's so nerve-wracking. and I know Tom Mazzolini, who's the Blues Festival, and he's has your visa come through yet, Bob? No, not yet. No.
I think any promoter is going to get real nervous when things are like that.
Yeah, but anyway, it came through. Yeah, and we did it. People who think that the musician's life is just simple, standing up there and
anything
playing,
but
It's there's a lot goes on behind the scenes.
That's right.
That's right.
So with the All Stars, how long did that last as a band? Did you guys ever record?
Yes, there's an album on Indigo. No, SPV, German label, SPV. Okay. From the Notodden concert, and which I think was recorded by the radio station.
Oh, right,
Norwegian radio. Right. And they gave us the tapes. So we were able to put it out as an album. edited it down, and I think it's nice. Yeah, I think it was good.
Is that still in print? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the last album that Long John Baldry made, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
Because he died soon afterwards.
The British Blues Stars. You said they lasted how long? How long was that? A couple years?
More, probably 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
Yes. Because we didn't play that many dates. We needed a festival to
really make it come together.
Airfares,
right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but we did what we could.
Mm-hmm.
And what else were we doing? Well, I mean, all through the 80s and 90s, I had been playing with the Luxe Blues Band with Danny Adler.
Right, and that's one of the times I met you over in Helsinki. Yeah.
It was Danny and
Bob Bruning
and Mickey Waller.
Right, on drums.
Who was very strange. And
the yardstick of the yardstick of weird.
Yardstick of weird. But Mickey was extraordinarily bright.
Yeah.
He was a fabulous drummer. He was just kind of weird.
Yeah. He was on the original Jeff Beck album, I think.
Yes, and
he was in that band.
He was in Small Faces. I think it was Small Faces.
Was he in Small Faces?
I
didn't
guessing,
know that.
I'm guessing.
You may be right. Yeah. Because Ron Wood was in.
He was certainly on
that band at the same time.
He was certainly on a lot of Rod Stewart's stuff.
Right. Right.
And he had an argument with Rod Stewart's management about being paid. And when they wouldn't pay him, Mickey went to law school and got a law degree and sued them.
Whoa!
And he won.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that's
serious.
That's how bright he was.
That's serious.
Yeah.
Whoa!
That is how bright he was. A very, very clever
They
man.
didn't know who they were messing with, did
but
they?
he was extremely weird. Yeah.
That's a great story.
So that was a strange band.
Yeah, and then you had Dick Hextall Smith,
who was very eccentric. and
could have come up with some different titles for that band.
Right. And then Bob Brunning and Danny Adler was the guitar player.
Yeah. And that was together for a while, as I recall.
We did a lot of recording and a lot
through
of
through the 90s, I think.
Yeah, we did, and it was quite satisfying. There's a lot of bootleg material of that band around, and some of it's I'm quite pleased with. You know how it is when people say, "Is that you on this record?" And you listen to think if it's any good, you go, "Yeah."
If it's not, you go, no.
Well, most of these I'll go.
Good answer. Yeah.
Most of these I'll go. Yes.
Yeah. Now, who sang in that band?
Well, Danny Adler did.
Danny did? That's right.
I think he was the only singer in the band.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think I remember that.
Actually, Charlie Watts did play with the Deluxe briefly.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think there's a Deluxe album with Charlie on it.
Now, didn't you play in the Bill Wyman? Did you play in the Bill Wyman?
No,
thing?
I don't. I never met Bill Wyman.
All right. Okay.
I mean, I met Charlie. I met Mick Jagger and Keith Richard briefly because when Charlie and I had this big band, they used to come to the gigs.
Oh, cool!
And sit and look, we'd have a jam in the dressing room.
Oh, really?
That was kind of strange. I got to know something about publicity in the music business. We played a gig at Cook's Ferry Inn, which was in North London. It was a big, fashionable venue at the time, and I remember the end of the gig. It was a great gig. It was very good, and everybody packed up and went on their way. And I was one of the last to leave. In fact, I think I probably was the last to leave. And in the next morning, I opened the paper to find that Mick and Keith had come to the club and caused a fight and a ruckus and had to be thrown out and the police called.
Wow.
I'm going,
was this just BS?
No, I was there.
Yeah.
They left before me
So it never happened.
It never happened.
That's so weird, man.
And I can remember talking to Ian Stewart on the phone and saying,
Uh-huh.
you know, they made this stuff up. Ian.
That's incredible.
And he said, yeah, they do it every day. I said, well, don't you complain about it? He said, well, it's fed up with, you know, what's
This
the point?
is not worth, it's not worth
it.
even getting into it, yeah.
But
God.
it just makes you think, what you read in the papers.
Right, doesn't mean much.
No. They will make it up.
The one I'm seeing in Facebook is unknown blues singer beats Beyonce and Taylor Swift. Did you see that? Bonnie Raitt, unknown blues singer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's in the UK papers.
I would have loved to play with Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah.
She was, Bonnie Raitt and Joanne Kelly were kind of rivals.
Were they really?
At the time.
Yeah.
At the time, I mean, Joanne had a contract with CBS,
Right.
I think, and was.
I think Bonnie was with Warner's or something.
Something like that, yes. But I mean, Bonnie was. I guess I don't know. I didn't know very well. I knew her manager, Dick Waterman, at the time.
I know Waterman
vaguely.
Yeah.
And Dick promised me next time Bonnie's in town, you know, you can play piano. Of course, it never happened.
Never happened. Yeah.
But Joanne was not easy to deal with.
Really?
Well, she didn't really want the stardom. She just
Well, that's kind of like Peter Green. We were talking about.
You know, she just
thing,
so a lot of the bullshit that goes with. She didn't care for.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So you know, she didn't get on with the money people terribly well.
Right.
Which was sad because she had a huge talent. But you know, if you're not prepared to do it their way, it's they find someone who will. You know?
And she went back to what, mid-60s? Was she around in the mid-60s?
Joe, even earlier. Joe, one of her earliest gigs was a residency she and I had at a pub in Croydon, South London.
Right.
This would be, I don't know, very early 60s. And we were the interval between the jazz bands.
Really?
Yeah, we did our interval slot, and Joe played her, you know, Charlie Patton and
that's so heavy, stuff.
And I played along with her, you know.
Right.
And then they'd have Dixieland bands either side.
Huh.
And I remember they paid us 25 shillings in old money for this. And after some time, I said to the promoter, look, you know, we've got, by the time I've driven from where I live, picked up Joe, gone to the gig, taken her back, gone home again, I've spent 25 shillings in gas. I had an old car,
that's
you know,
incredible,
50 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
And I said, could you make it 30 shillings? And he sacked us.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Club owner empathy, right?
That's right. Yeah. He sacked us on the spot.
Jeez. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
So your newest venture seems to be Little Jimmy Reed.
Yes, I met Little Jimmy in Scotland about 12 years ago now. And I never thought that I'd play with another American blues band. Because they were all dead.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I played with Wolf and Hooker and Walter and Chuck Berry and, you know, everybody, Lowell Fulsom, all my heroes I played with. And they were all dead.
Yeah.
And I didn't think, in fact, I wasn't even going to go and see him. But the festival promoter said, you want to see this guy? He's good. And I can remember to this day standing at the back of the room and listening to this sound, and the hairs on the back of my neck were, what? He's the real deal.
Yeah.
And we got chatting, and I said to him, you know, I think you could do well in Britain. He was completely unknown, but it was unknown to me as well.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll see what I can do. So I phoned all the music agents that I knew, not that many, But I phoned everybody I knew, and they all said no.
Wow.
Absolutely not. And one of them said, no, he's too old school. And that really...
that puts you on a mission.
Yes. So what do you mean old school?
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to
That's
sound.
right. That's what blues is.
So I got back to Jimmy and said, look, I'll try and get you a few gigs. I don't know whether I'll succeed or not, but I'll try. And we organised a tour, and it went well. And every year I'd organise 1 or 2 more tours for him. We used to do 15 days, something like that. A lot of clubs, the occasional festival if I could get one, and things like that. And gradually Jimmy acquired a reputation. He's audiences like him. He connects with all. He never speaks to them,
right,
unless I prod him into saying something. But he
exudes something.
Yes, exactly. He does connect with them. And he plays the real deal.
Right.
I didn't realise quite why. And what seems to have happened, I mean, Jimmy's not easy to draw out his life history, but what seems to have happened was that Jimmy played music, and he's also a qualified hairdresser.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
He's qualified to teach hairdressing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Jimmy's, he's a very literate man.
Rod Piazza was actually a hairdresser.
Oh, I
too.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What do you know?
Yeah.
So I've lost the thread.
Oh, so in other words, you met him and you guys connected.
Yeah, and I did try and get him some gigs, and gradually we managed to get off the sort of club circuit and into this little theatre circuit.
Right.
And that's worked very well for us over the years. So now I will try and find a festival, or at least some gig that will pay the airfare.
Pay the freight. Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
And then I'll put together a tour of weeks or so, art centres and theatres, and Jimmy just comes over and plays those.
So it's mainly the UK.
Mainly the UK.
Yeah.
He used to play more in Europe, but it seems to be harder and harder to get gigs in Europe.
It does. Yeah.
The money. The UK pays better because it's theatres, and there doesn't seem to be the same sort of theatre circuit in Europe. Or if there is, I'm not part of it, and I don't know how to.
Interesting.
Get
Well, it's always seemed to me that the UK is almost like a separate entity from the rest of Europe, and a lot of UK guys don't even play in the UK, and they end up playing in Europe, or vice versa.
Yes. It's like the
it's
blues.
Interesting.
Yeah, the blues band mostly played in the UK. They did do festivals and things elsewhere, but I mean, really, 90% or more of their gigs were in the UK.
Yeah, it's interesting how there's that separation.
Yeah, it just depends where you can manage to find an audience.
Right.
And Jimmy has found this audience, and as long as he can do it, and I think they'll come and see him play.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, he's an inspiration to me because he's got more energy than I have, and he's older than I am.
Yeah, right.
And he loves to play.
Now, what was his? Didn't you say he was in the service or something?
Yes. Oh, that was what I was going to say. He, up until the age of 35, he's working these 2 jobs. He's got 8 children. He's acquired 2 wives. One divorced, obviously. But he's supporting all these people, and he can't do it. It's just not enough money in it. So he joined the army, because 35 is the oldest you can join the army. So he joined the army and straight away volunteered to be in personnel. He's lived all over the world. So he did his 20-year stretch. But when he left, thought about taking up music again. And of course, what does he do? He plays the music that he played 20 years earlier.
Right.
So he's a kind of a throwback.
Right.
And part of Jimmy that would like to be contemporary. What I tell him is that the people actually, what they really want to hear is that sound.
Right.
You know, it may not be a contemporary.
The old school sound, yeah.
It's an old school sound,
yeah.
but that's where you can, you know, there are lots of people who can play contemporary blues. They don't do what you do.
No,
you know,
there's almost nobody that does
do
that
what you
anymore.
do, and you can't go wrong. And
Yeah.
he's so far, touch wood. He's
That's
doing
awesome.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's us. I mean, we aren't. We used to do. I used to have a full-time job, and I'd still do 70 or 80 gigs a year.
Right.
But we've cut it right down.
Yeah.
Now we've retired.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be. Well, I was 80 last year.
But you're still playing.
Well, what else would I do?
Right. Yeah.
You've got to do.
That's the beauty of music, I think.
It is. I mean, it's in a way, it's
80 is the new 70.
Yeah, and in a way, it's one of the few professions. You know, if you're a footballer or something, you can't go on doing it.
You can't.
But if you're a musician and your fingers don't give up on you,
that's right.
Hey, you can go on doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned Eric Clapton,
mm-hmm.
and of all the people in my generation of blues, I never played with Eric Clapton.
Mm-hmm.
I met him once
mm-hmm.
In the Cow Palace.
Really?
In San Francisco, backstage.
Huh.
And Dan Ford introduced me.
Right.
You know, Dan Ford,
Dan.
Guitar player.
Right.
And Eric, I would like you to meet my friend Bob Hall. And Eric goes, yeah, I've heard of him. And then he went away. So I know he's heard of me, but I don't know anything.
That's so weird.
And I wanted to have him in Rocket 88.
Mm-hmm.
And Stu wouldn't have it.
Really?
No. And Eric, I'm told, wanted to play with us.
Really?
And Stu wouldn't tell him where the gigs were.
How bizarre.
He said, no, he's too loud.
Well, could that have had something to do with Jack Bruce, though? Or was that before Jack Bruce?
Well, Jack Bruce was too loud as well.
Right.
Yeah,
so, I mean, maybe
you
don't think it had anything to do with that?
Well, it might have done. Yeah. But he certainly...
That's interesting.
Stu, no, you don't want it. No, it's not right for that. And he wouldn't have it.
Wow.
He was rather determined.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you and Stu are pretty good friends, right?
We were good friends.
Ian Stewart is Rolling Stones alumni.
Well, he was the original pianist.
The original pianist, right.
And Andrew Oldham sacked him because he didn't have the right look.
Right.
And that's true enough.
Right.
Stu never looked like a
rock
star.
He was older, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
But he stayed with the Stones because he was a good organizer. He was their roadie, their road manager.
Right.
He ran their office.
Right.
And in time, he also ran the mobile studio.
Well, I like what you said about that. He was one of the few people around them that would give them an honest opinion.
Yes, Stu. That was a great thing about Stu. He would. I was telling you, that they'd go out, come off stage, and the audience are going berserk.
Right.
And they'd say, "How was it, Stu?" And he'd say, "You were better last night." Which he told it like it was.
Right.
You know.
Right. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. They seem to think a lot of him.
Well, I when he died, I wondered whether the band would carry on because he was so much integrally part of the whole thing. And he did play with them. We had, my son and I had tickets for Wembley one year when they were doing a show, which was great.
Yeah.
There were some Stones songs that Stu didn't like, you know, the psychedelic ones and things like this.
Right.
He's a Boogie Woogie pianist.
Right.
And he didn't like it.
Right.
And every time they'd play one of these songs, he'd get up and leave the stage.
Would he be on stage playing?
Well, he'd be on stage playing
the other songs,
but anything he didn't like, he'd get up and leave.
Uh-huh.
And they had a band meeting. Apparently, Charlie told me at a band meeting, and they said, "Stu, if you don't stay on the stage and play, we won't pay you."
Mm-hmm.
And next night they go, you know, and they play psychedelic soul. Charlie said, I look round.
He's gone.
He did.
That's great.
Yeah.
He's definitely a man of his convictions.
Absolutely, he was a man
Yeah.
of conviction. He was.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Charlie Watts seemed like a great guy too.
Yeah.
He really did.
I'll give you a Charlie story. Charlie wore his fame very, very lightly.
Yeah.
You know, he never thought he was a very good drummer, which actually was crazy because he was
crazy,
a world-class drummer.
Yeah.
And he didn't think anything much of the trappings of
Fame.
Yeah. We're in the band bus going to a gig with Rocket 88, and the two guys are talking about getting a new car, George Green and one of the horn players, you know, they're discussing the various merits of different cars.
Right.
And Charlie pops up in the front and said, George, whatever you do, he says, don't get a Ferrari. And George said, oh, why is that? And Charlie said, well, he said, I just took the Ferrari to the garage and they charged me £600 to clean it.
Jeez.
So I won't get one of those.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the other thing I wanted to just get with you on is like how you got into such a wide selection of styles of the old blues guys. I mean, because I know you're one of the few guys in England that really plays, learned Big Maceo or Walter Davis or, obviously the Boogie Woogie guys like Albert Ammons and people like that.
I put that down to a lock-up shop in Streatham called the Swing Shop. The Swing Shop had was a jazz record store, much smaller than this room, much smaller. You could only get 4 or 5 people in there, it was run by a fellow called Dave Carey, who was a vibraphone player and drummer, and he oftentimes wasn't there, and he had an assistant called Len who was a bass player and would let us play any records we wanted. At that time, you couldn't just go into a shop and buy American blues records. There was some sort of tax problems or something like that, but anyway, you couldn't do it. And Dave Carey found a way around this. He had to order 100 records at a time. He could designate 80 of them, and the other 20, the dealer in the States would choose. So Dave would put in his 80 modern jazz quartet, John Coltrane stuff.
Right.
And the dealer would go to the cheapo drugstore records, and he'd put in modern and the really cheap ones. So Dave would, when these records arrived, he'd go, gather old rubbish, and he'd throw it out in the bins. So, I mean, if you look, I've got a whole set of B.B. King's, Johnny Hooker's.
Right.
I've got the Howlin Wolf on Crown.
Yeah.
That was the
Crown
records. Dave did realise that there was a market for old blues reissues. We kind of used the Swing Shop as a library. We'd take them home and take them back. And as long as Kerry wasn't there, that was okay. They could put it back in the rack. That was my education in old blues. And also I got to know a collector called Francis Wilford Smith. He had an extraordinary collection of rare and valuable 78 records.
Wow.
And I got to know him. He was an artist by profession, in fact, mostly a cartoonist. And for many years he had an exclusive contract with Playboy.
Wow. 1
cartoon a month for Playboy.
Too
he
much.
was not allowed to do anything for anybody else. So he lived quite well, and he spent his money on records and rare books and things. So I learned a lot about particularly piano blues, which was what he was mostly interested in.
What would you say are your favorites of the piano, the 30s and 40s?
I can always listen to Jimmy Yancey.
Right.
particularly late at night,
Right.
where you can't beat Jimmy Yancey for
Right.
late night listening. I actually quite like Leroy Carl, even
Yeah.
though he's a very simple.
Oh yeah, he was
a great composer.
He was a great composer.
You know,
Absolutely.
I like listening to his compositions. So
his songs really kind of became the kind of basis for a lot of the later blues singers.
And I like some of the modern people. Sonny Thompson, I like.
Oh, okay, yeah. Played with Freddie King.
50s.
Yeah.
50s.
Right.
You know, particularly like he has a tune called Screaming Boogie, which I would love to be able to play, but I'm not good enough. And I found him. There was an article in one of the kind of gutter press about teenagers and drugs, and it said it had a photograph of some rather ordinary looking kids dancing, and it said drug crazed teenagers dancing to the latest New York craze, The Fish. So I thought, I want that record. And I found it.
That's great.
Sonny Thompson.
That's great. Yeah, I don't think I've heard that one.